All right, guys, so let me give you an update on part 2 of the Fish Sup 1210 outfitting with the Torqeedo. So we got the plate installed. My buddy Greg Massa from 3D Design or 3DAct.com created this little spacer right here so that when I put the crossbar on for the landing gear, I can tighten it down and it compresses it. We added the cushions, the little glue-on cushions from the cutout in the foam from the traction pads that come with the Bonafide kayak to the bottom of this. I've got a nominal adjustment. I've also went ahead and made some index lines so that when I go out and do some on the water testing, I've got index lines here. I've got index lines underneath the front right here as well. Sorry, right here. So that I can line that up with the front of the mount. I can line this up with the back of the traction pad so I can get a reference point. Kind of a happy accident is not a happy accident that I didn't want the battery here, but the happy accident that got a little spacer into there and I just cut off an old tie down strap and just cinched this down in here. That's actually what these little grooves right here are for, is for strapping down your battery. So it worked out just perfect. Realistically, if I wanted to be like super fancy, I could go so far as to put a second strap on there, and I may do that down the road. But let me run you through what I've got set up here. So we've got the standard motor bracket. We've got the plate that was made by Catch, so that way we could set it up. I then tied it in to the back of the seat right here. So you're gonna have the seat weight, the battery weight, the hold down from the cross tubes to hold this plate in place so that I get as little flex as possible, but there is gonna be a little bit of flex from the plate itself, and then we're gonna mess around with the height of the motor and the orientation of the motor. After we get that dialed in, I've got a couple of prototype parts like a rock guard, a cavitation plate, and a nose protector for the Torqeedo that we're also going to install and test as part of this theory. So what I did here is I actually took my steering lines, and guys, I'm just going to tell you, I'm not a big fan of these carabiners that come with the kits. I like to switch them over to the Night Eyes version that's a little bit more lightweight, a little easier to use, and they don't have these little burrs on them that catch on everything. So I'll get Austin to shoot a close-up of the right ones on our other boats, and then once I get done with this prototype testing and I can pick up a few of these, I'll switch them out to the ones that I like better. So moving forward, what I did is I just used existing fittings on the boat. I ran my lines down the side of the boat like you can see here, through the D-ring, through the second D-ring, and then up to this contraption that I created here. My lift mechanism for raising the motor up is just basically going to be this line that I've got underneath the tie down pins for now, just to keep it out of the way, but it'll have this little T-hook on the end of it, so from the seat I can use that to pull the motor up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lock and load here to both hold my paddle and to wrap this around and stick it in the groove to hold the motor up if I need to hold it up until I get a little bit more permanent solution. So for now, I'm going to pop this back in there just to hold it in place until I need it. So now to the jerry rig contraption of the year, and this is the remaining question as to whether or not it's going to work. Let me show you what I actually made this out of. So I had this happen to be laying around, and I was trying to find some tubes and fittings and such. And so what this is an old, what do you call this, a light stand? This is an old light stand for a studio light setup that I used to have. So what I did is I took this apart and I cannibalized the parts. And because these tubes slide inside the tubes, I knew I was going to have the ability to create what my brain envisioned, which was this setup right here. So I used this collar to cover this thing up and stabilize it. Now, what I did is I cut this off to what I thought was going to be the nominal length, and then I drilled a set screw into it, into the lock and load base from Yak Attack, and then I tied that lock and load base into here. I'm actually not going to do anything other than use weight and friction to hold this down in the beginning. Put this collar on here to help set the height, like so, and then keep this thing a little bit more stable. And then what I did is I drilled a hole in the cross tube, put this headpiece inside of there, and then just put a nut on the top of it. Knowing that this piece was going to fit inside the other tube, I just made it to where I guessed the distance to where that's gonna now sit on top of that. And then when I sit in the boat and I move my steering, that's gonna allow me to steer the motor. And this is just gonna serve as a pivot point. I'm probably gonna end up putting some type of grip right here. And then what I do to adjust the length is I just slide this back to where I need it and then just wrap it around or unwrap it, right? And that's gonna be my rudimentary steering until I determine the performance thresholds. And then after that, what we're going to do is we're going to make a real steering system that ties into this with a little bracket that kicks off with a little 90-degree yak attack mounts that tie into a Select steering system. But again, before I go that far, I want to make sure that this boat performs well with this motor. I want to identify any performance characteristics that I want to address before trying to mount the steering here and then determine that it's not going to work because the seat needs to be further forward or whatever. So prototype testing, again, this is normally the stuff you guys don't see. If you watched the first video, I didn't have this part figured out. I still don't know if I actually have it figured out, but tell me what you think on this steering contraption. Do you think it's going to work? It's not going to work? Is this one of those like, what the hell were you thinking moments? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this joker up, add a little bit of extra air to it to stiffen it up for my fat butt. And then we're going to take it right down there and put it in the water and go do the on water part. And I will report back to you guys on the on water performance, how my Jerry Rigathon worked out in the next video. So y'all comment below, let me know. Do you think this jacked up steering system is going to work? And what do you think about the performance of this Sea Eagle FS12 with the FS1210, 12 foot 10 inches by 39 inches with a Torqeedo 1104 Adventure Ultralight kayak motor, and with my fat butt, no extra gear other than the battery, the closest to the top speed is going to win a virtual high five from me. I'm just kidding. Nobody's going to even guess for that. I'll do 3 signed copies of my book, Kayak Bass Fishing, that are so out of date now that Austin was like, were you still in diapers then?
No.
What were you, like 12, 11?
Well, I hope I wasn't in diapers at 12.
I mean, anyway, I'll give away 3 signed copies of my book so you guys can kind of go back and see the history of the sport. And maybe I'll throw some other prizes in there depending on the response. But y'all comment below and let me know, first and foremost, what do you think about this rig? What do you think about my Jerry rig setup, my Redneck Engineering, if you've been following along? And then at the same time, guess, what do you think the top speed is going to be in knots or miles per hour? Let's go. What do you think, knots or miles per hour?
Miles per hour.
In miles per hour, MPHs, what do you think it's going to be with this boat? And yeah, I'll pick some winners. So anyway, y'all light up the comment section. Let me know what you think. I'm going to try to beat this storm that's coming and get this joker out on the water. So here we go. All right, so before we go inside, you start editing this thing. What do you think it's going to hit?
2.5.
Come on, bro, be real. I mean, we know it's going to be faster with you in it, but I think there's a lot more knuckleheads out there that look like me than look like you. So what do you think we're going to hit?
Y'all better lay off the honey buns.
Bruh, just put your guess in there. Just get a haircut.
No draft.
Just
Couple days ago, got lined up. 2 days ago, no draft. Torqeedo 5.5.
5.5.
Yeah, I think you're gonna weigh the back end down too much.
What do you think it's gonna get with you in it?
9.6.